Hello everybody, Jonathan Rayo here with Simplified Guitar, and in this lesson I want to teach you how to play the song You've Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman. As usual, first I'm going to play through the song for you, and then at the end I'll break it down and explain it to you in more detail, so make sure to stick around for that. For now, let's go ahead and play through the song.
You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said. Yeah, you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got troubles, well I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. Some other folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too, maybe. But none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's me and it's you, boy. And as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny, that you got a friend in me. That you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me.
Alright, so this song can be a little bit complicated, especially with the pattern that we're going to be using to finger pick, which I'll explain it in a minute. But first, let's start out with the very first step, which is that introduction. So we're going to be starting with the C chord, okay? And we're going to go from C to E7, okay? So an E7 looks like this, where we're just going to be using our first and second finger. First finger on the first fret of the G string and the second finger on the second fret of the A string, okay? So typically this is an E major, but in E7 we're going to remove that third finger. So we're just playing with these two fingers for that E7. So we're going to be going again from C to E7. Now what we need to do with our picking hand is we're just going to be using our thumb for this first transition, and we're going to start on that A string, plucking that C note, okay? And then we're going to pluck the D string, but what we want to do is what's called a hammer, where we're going to start plucking that D string with our second finger off of the string, and we're going to pluck it, and after we pluck it, we're going to hammer down with our second finger. Okay, so that's called a hammer. We're making two different notes, but we're only plucking the string one time. All right, so we have 1, 2. Okay, and then after that, we want to pluck the G and B string, and we can either do it with our first and second finger, or we can do it with our thumb and second finger. And then directly after that, we're going to go to that E7, and we're going to pluck the E string and the G string with our thumb and with our first finger. So after we do that, we're going to pluck the D string and then back to the G string. So we have, and that's what we're going to be playing with the E7 chord. And then we're going to transition to an A minor. For the A minor, we're going to start with plucking our A string with our thumb, and the G string with our first finger. And then from there, we want to pluck the B string with our second and back to the G string with our first. Okay, so what we have so far in slow motion for our C chord, E, A minor, and now we're going to play a sort of a G sharp chord, I guess, but we're going to play the G sharp note here with our second finger, and the same fret we're going to play on the B string right here, and we're just going to pluck those two notes. Okay, so the low E string and that B string. And then from there, we want to press down with our first finger on the third fret of the B string. So we're going to press down and pick up our third finger. Okay, so we can play. All right. And we're just going to pluck that B string again with our second finger. So again, that transition from A minor to that new chord is going to sound like this. And then from there, we're going to go back to a standard C chord, and we're going to play the A string and the B string with our first and second finger. And then we're going to do another hammer with our second finger on the D string. We're going to do that same thing that we did at the beginning. Okay, and then from there, we're going to pluck the G string. It's just going to be an open G. And then we're going to do another hammer with our second finger on the second fret of the D string. Okay, so we do that hammer and then hit the G string again. Okay, so we have like that all together. And from there, we're going to play a G. And we're just going to start by plucking that low E string, that G note by itself. And then we're going to play the G string with our first finger. And then we're going to play the A and B string together with our first and second finger, or our thumb and second finger. Like that. So that G together we have. And then from there, we're going to go back to the C. And we're going to play both the A and B string again. And we're going to do the same little walk that we did before, where we're going to play, again, the A and B, then the G with our first finger, and do a hammer on the D, play that G again. Okay, so again, that C is going to sound like this. And then we're going to do that G again. All right, so that second to last C, we're just going to play the A, then G, then D, then G. So we're just kind of going back and forth like that for that second to last C. And then from there, we're going to go back to the G. So we have, okay, so 1, G. And for that G again, I'm playing the E, the G string, and then A and B together, like that. So again, we have, and then I'll probably hit that G again, like that, right before we go back to the C chord to start the verse. Okay, and there I'm on the verse. So again, I'll put that whole intro together and I'll play it really slow for you, starting with the C, then to the E7, the A minor, the G sharp, the C, the G, and the C. Back to the G, Now for the verses, I'm kind of doing an offbeat pattern with the finger picking. So instead of playing like we usually do on every beat, and typically like with the driving pattern or the folk pattern or many patterns that I have in other tutorials, we usually will strum down or even finger pick on every beat, okay? And that's typically a lot easier to do than what we're trying to do here. In this song, we're going to be finger picking mainly on the upbeats, okay? So in between the beats, we're going to be throwing in our finger picking. Except, again, on that first beat, when we start off a measure, we need to start off the measure on the beat so that it's very clear where the new measure begins. So anytime we start a new measure, our thumb is going to hit the root note, okay? But then after that, I'm typically going to be playing on the upbeats. So if I were to count out 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay, with the numbers being the beats and the word and being the space in between the beats, you'll notice that I'm going to be using my first and second finger to pluck it down here on the high register of the guitar, on the lower strings. I'm going to be plucking down there in between the beats on the word and, okay? So I'm just going to hold a C note and I'm going to pluck out the finger picking and I'm going to count those beats out so you can hear what's going on. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, so you'll notice that my thumb is going to be hitting the root note of the chord on beat 1 and beat 3, okay? And then my first and second finger are hitting on every space in between the beats. But then we're going to throw in something a little strange. We're going to be breaking this little pattern typically at the end of every stanza or at the end of every line, okay? So for the first part of the progression for the song, we have C, G, C, and then C7, okay? So we have C, G, C, C7. Right there on that C7, I'm kind of breaking that rule. And I'm going to be plucking my root note and my first and second finger at the same time on an in-between beat. And then I'm just going to let it ring out for about half a measure before I pick back up with the regular rhythm again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we're going to be breaking the pattern again towards the end of the second verse, right before we get into the bridge of the song. We're going to be going into a strumming. And since we're going to be finger picking for most of the song, we're not going to have a pick in our hand. So when we get to strumming, you can use your first and second finger, maybe just your first or your first and second, doesn't really matter. But you can use the fingernail on the back of your finger to strum, okay? Since we're not using a pick. And we're really going to just be strumming down at this point when we get to the bridge. And something else that can really help add a little bit of flair to this part is to, whenever you play a beat, so we're going to be playing, let's say, the F sharp, for instance. We're going to play the F sharp, we're going to strum it, and then we're going to pick up our hands, not all the way, but we're just going to pick them up and let them rest on the strings. And what that's going to do is it's going to mute the chord. And it's going to just create a different effect. So the chords are not just ringing through constantly, but there's it's like a quick break between each one of the chords. So for instance, this is me not doing that and just holding the F chord hard all the way through. And here, if I pull off between each one, all right, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And I hope to see you in the next lesson. Take care.